I think self-care is a really big, we have a negativity bias. That's,
Mm,
whoever made us, that's something that we now know through neuroscience is true. We hold on to the negative, and that was a great survival technique when
mm,
we were out in the wild and we had to look for the animals that were going to come and eat us, or the tribe that was different from us. And that was really important then. But it's
mm,
still there in our reptilian brain.
mm,
And therefore, I would say for every negative thought or negative feeling or negative experience that you have, think about five positives
mm,
because they're there. So demonstrating self-care, being kind to yourself through your self-talk. Epigenetics tells us that our thoughts and what we say to ourselves absolutely affect us on a cellular level. We can demonstrate that now. To be conscious of your conscious thought,
mm.
it's really, really important. And be kind to yourself. What would your best friend say to you when you hear that critic coming up? Acknowledge, okay, critic, I hear you, but then try and turn it into something that's also supportive. And what would your best friend say about you?
Mm.
And hold on to that. My name is Nicola Forristal. I'm working at Anomaly as the European Talent Director. And what that means is that I oversee and work with a team. So we have part of the team who do talent and acquisition, which is recruitment, the other part of the team who do looking after the people side of things. And I work both in London and Berlin. And we also people in Amsterdam, France, and Portugal as well. So quite a broad remit. And Anomaly describe themselves, or we describe ourselves as change agents.
Mm,
And what that means really is it's not about being defined by the platform or the channel that we're helping our clients to communicate on. It's
mm,
more about looking at the business problem and how can we be most effective within that, finding the solution. So that's why they call themselves change agents. They're not an advertising company, they're not a PR
mm.
company, they are change agents, and can therefore adapt and deliver for clients in lots of different ways. So main responsibilities would be, if you think about the employee cycle, so if you think about everything from attraction of people, the hiring of people, the orientating, as in inductions, the training and development of people, sometimes the performance management of people, sometimes the exit of people as well. But also, so that's kind of all the different employee touch points that I would oversee, and my team would be on the ground in relation to where their role intersects with those touch points. But
Mhm,
it's more than that. It's also about making sure that we're creating an inclusive environment where
mhm,
people can show up every day and be the best they possibly can.
mhm,
So we have a global head of equity, diversity, and inclusion called Christy Henderson, and I work with her. And there's another lady called Holly Cliffin in our London office and our Berlin office, and we work with partners to ensure that we are spreading the word about our
mhm.
environment, our agency, and also the careers that people can have. Because if you don't know about agencies, you don't have someone who is a strategist or a
Yeah.
creative or an account manager, then why would you know that these roles exist? So we also work with partners who are already in the space of people who wouldn't necessarily know, so that we can educate, train, help, support, and have fun with them as well. So I come from Irish heritage. My parents are Irish, my grandparents are Irish, my great great grandparents are Irish, as far as we know.
Mm,
My parents were first generation coming over here, so they were immigrants coming over to
mm,
England. Neither of them have a degree. My mother left school when she was 15. My father went on, he studied printing, and so he did that in college. But my brother and my sister, there's three of us, we were the first ones to go to university. So I do have a degree in communications law, and I also have a master's in integrative psychotherapy as well, which I did a bit later on in my life. So I have a bit of a portfolio career. I am trained to be in the people and talent business and
mm,
trained to be a generalist. And my career started off in the NHS. I've worked in lots of different industries. So I started off in the NHS where I kind of earned my stripes. Then I went into construction, then I went into hospitality, and then I went into the creative industry. So I've had quite a few different industries in my life. My journey also took me to Australia, which I never intended to go to. So I took a moment where my partner at the time, we thought, let's go traveling, but we only meant to go traveling for 6 months. So we went to India and Thailand, and then I didn't want to come home. So I ended up going to Australia. I ended up working in hospitality, getting actually, obviously I was just in a temporary visa, but I got a permanent visa, a working visa, and I ended up working with the people that owned the environment, the hotel, 6 different types of accommodation. And we flew all over Australia, which was amazing, and also got to see a bit of Asia as well. And I guess the point about that really is, when we think about our careers, and when I could sit here and tell you about my career, it sounds very linear. It sounds like every moment was a well thought through moment, and life just isn't like that, So I think it's about taking opportunity. It's also, I mean, if you can get an education, because it really helped that I had these qualifications to get my visa in Australia. And then as I got older, my master's was in something that I feel passionate about. So I'm also a trained psychotherapist and a practicing psychotherapist, and I'm also a coach as well. So I love learning, and I think that's really important. And it gets me up in the morning. It stimulates my brain. And at the center of all my learning really is, how can I support and help people and myself and my family. I'm definitely not perfect. One of the reasons why I chose to do psychotherapy masters is because I had a really, really great therapist myself. There was a moment in my life where I recognized that I was just literally holding on by my fingertips. So I was still getting up in the morning, I was still working, but I knew there was something. I needed professional help. Basically, I needed somebody who was qualified to sit opposite me and help me. And I found this amazing therapist. And after about 4 years of therapy, I thought, wow, is that something that I could do myself? And it was a long journey. It took me 10 years to get my master's, because I was working full time. And that time I had 3 children. And it's a long journey, quite rightly. It should be to learn to be a therapist, but it's something that I really love, and I feel very humbled to be part of that world. And yeah, I think it's about not thinking that life is going to be linear and your career is going to be linear. Somebody once said, if you can see the path ahead of you, it's not your path. And I think that's really important. Just think about, what change do you want to see in the world? What light do you want to shine? And focus on that. And that will be your guiding light. My advice would be is just to believe in you. You are an individual. We are all individuals. And what you can contribute, no one else can. Nobody else in the world can. So even though it can be tough to always believe in yourself, I would say give yourself a break, demonstrate some self-compassion, which is the hardest thing for any of us to do. I think look at partners who are working with people from underrepresented groups, and that can come in all different, the diversity, equity, and inclusion is a huge umbrella, huge scope. But look at partners who are operating and are working with companies to get you that first job, get you that door and that door to open for you. And then you will simply do the rest. You really will. So it's about keep believing, because it will happen. It will happen. It's just I know it's tough, and I know it's difficult when you're not you don't know your way, or you know your way, you're passionate about what you want to do, and those doors just aren't opening, but they will. They will. And just believe in you, because you are unique and you have a unique contribution to give to that company and to the world. I think self-care is a really big, we have a negativity bias. That's, whoever made us, that's something that we now know through neuroscience is true. We hold on to the negative, and that was a great survival technique when we were out in the wild and we had to look for the animals that were going to come and eat us, or the tribe that was different from us. And that was really important then. But it's still there in our reptilian brain. And therefore, I would say, for every negative thought or negative feeling or negative experience that you have, think about 5 positives, because they're there. So demonstrating self-care, being kind to yourself through your self-talk. Epigenetics tells us that our thoughts and what we say to ourselves absolutely affect us on a cellular level. We can demonstrate that now. To be conscious of your conscious thought. It's really, really important. And be kind to yourself. What would your best friend say to you when you hear that critic coming up? Acknowledge, okay, critic, I hear you, but then try and turn it into something that's also supportive. And what would your best friend say about you? And hold on to that.